Star Wars, a name that once ignited the imagination of millions, a universe filled with adventure, mythology, and storytelling that defined generations. But today, the Star Wars franchise feels like a shadow of its former self. What was once a symbol of wonder and excitement has become a source of division, frustration, and for more many, outright apathy. How did we get here? How did one of the most beloved franchises in cinematic history lose its way? The answer is a combination of poor leadership, lack of creative direction, mediocre Disney Plus content, and increasingly fractured fan base. And all of those issues resort back to one thing, one entity, one corporation, and that is the House of Mouse. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, Jenna Mike here, and I'm back with another video brought to you by So Well Media. Today, we're going to be breaking down the fall of Star Wars, examining the mistakes made along the way, and asking the big question, is there any hope or redemption? To understand how far Star Wars has fallen, we have to go back to the beginning. In 1977, Star Wars: A New Hope changed cinema forever. George Lucas' epic space opera wasn't just a movie, it was a phenomenon. With groundbreaking visual effects, mythological storytelling, and iconic characters, Star Wars became a cultural touchstone. Then came The Empire Strikes Back in 1980. A darker and more mature sequel that deepened the lore, introduced shocking twists, and solidified the franchise's status as one of the greatest of all time. Then we get to 1983, Return of the Jedi. Wrapped up the original trilogy with an emotional and satisfying conclusion. These three films, despite some flaws, represented storytelling at its finest. Then, in 1999, the Prequel Trilogy began. At first, The Phantom Menace was met with mixed reactions. The prequels had issues, wooden dialogue, overuse of CGI, and of course, Jar Jar Binks.
Don't do that again.
But they also brought the depth of the saga. Which, by the way, this is my generation that I grew up with Star Wars, so this has a special place in my heart. The story of Anakin Skywalker's fall, Palpatine rise to power, and the Republic collapse added rich political and philosophical layers. Over time, fans grew to appreciate the prequels for their ambition, their world building, and most importantly, the fact that they had a clear vision. Star Wars at this point was a story with a beginning, middle, and end. It had a purpose, but then, in 2012, something happened. George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney, and everything changed forever. Disney acquired Star Wars. Fans were excited. A new trilogy was announced, promising a return to the galaxy far, far away. But instead of a well thought out story, what we got was one of the most mismanaged trilogies in blockbuster history. The Force Awakens in 2015, a safe but fun start. It introduced characters like Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren, while heavily borrowing from A New Hope. At times, many fans were okay with it. It felt like Star Wars was back, but it quickly became clear that it was setting up mysteries. Who is Rey? Who is Snoke? What happened to Luke? Without any answers in place. Then came the film that divided the fan base forever, and that is 2017's The Last Jedi, the most divisive Star Wars movie ever made. Rian Johnson subverted expectations in ways that felt more like trolling than good storytelling.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Luke Skywalker was reduced to a bitter old hermit who rejected everything he once stood for. Rey's parents were nobody, and Snoke was killed without any explanation. While some praised it for being bold, many felt betrayed. The essence of Star Wars was gone. Then came The Rise of Skywalker. In 2019, a desperate attempt to fix the damage, the J.J. Abrams returned, bringing back Emperor Palpatine out of nowhere, making Rey his granddaughter, and cramming what should have been 2 movies worth of plot in one. The film was inconsistent and ultimately unsatisfying. The biggest problem? Lucasfilm had no plan. Unlike Marvel's meticulous storytelling at the time, where everything was carefully mapped out, the sequel trilogy was handed off to different directors with completely different ideas. This lack of direction led to inconsistent character arcs, wasted potential, and a trilogy that ultimately had no thematic or narrative weight. With the sequel trilogy dividing fans, Disney turned to television. After all, The Mandalorian 2019 was a massive success, being one of the first shows to highlight Disney Plus' new streaming service. The show brought back the Western-style adventure and introduced Grogu, a baby Yoda, who quickly became a pop culture icon. But then, Disney did what Disney always do: oversaturated the market. The Book of Boba Fett, or should I say, the Book of Shit, took one of Star Wars' coolest characters and made him soft, a directionless crime boss.
Like a panther. Yes?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The best episodes weren't even about him. They were basically The Mandalorian Season 2.5. Then came Obi-Wan Kenobi, a massive disappointment, with Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen both returning in their iconic roles. Fans expected an epic and emotional story. Instead, we got questionable writing and a dull story and a low-budget feel. Andor, a rare gem. Unlike more Disney Plus shows, Andor was well written, mature, and generally compelling. Unfortunately, it didn't feel like traditional Star Wars, which limited its appeal. Ahsoka in 2023. This show had potential, but it felt hollow, with wooden performances, slow pacing, and a plot that relied too much on the Rebels' nostalgia. Even with highlights from performances from certain actors in the show, it still did not do enough to grab most audiences. The Acolyte, a show highlighting the dark side of the Force in a different era of Star Wars, which unfortunately left little to be desired, with a lack of respect of the foundation that George Lucas has built. Regardless of the action scenes, visual effects, or performances, the writing felt misguided, directionless, and ultimately frustrating amongst many different fans, which ultimately led to the show getting canceled after one season. Shows like The Bad Batch and Skeleton Crew, which have its good moments, still, none of them had made a lasting impact. The biggest problem? Quantity over quality. Instead of taking time to craft meaningful stories, Disney flooded Disney Plus with mediocre content. This led to Star Wars fatigue, making fans less excited about new projects. Perhaps the most tragic part of Star Wars' decline, aside from the movies, aside from the shows, the one biggest thing that made the Star Wars brand as big as it is today is the fans. Star Wars used to bring people together. Now, it feels like every new release sparks a war between those who defend it and those who see it as a betrayal.
Hey, you shut the fuck up!
Why don't you come down and make me tough guy?
Yeah, why don't you come up here and make me come down here, tough guy?
I am gonna come up there and I'm gonna kick your fucking ass!
Yeah, why don't you try it, asshole? Get your ass up here and kick my ass if I...
Shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch! Get the fuck back to looking!
There's a classy neighborhood people trying to sleep! God
Shut
damn
the
it!
fuck up! Hey, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, me too.
She's worse than us.
Yeah, she's our enemy now.
Whether you have sequel defenders versus critics, some love the sequels, while others despise them. The debate over The Last Jedi alone is still raging years later. Then you have prequel haters turned lovers. Many fans who once criticized the prequels now see them as a superior to Disney Star Wars. And lastly, with leadership heads, you have Filoni versus Kennedy. Some believe Dave Filoni, who created shows like Clone Wars, Rebels, and spearlined The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau, is the savior of Star Wars, while others think he's just guilty of fan service and nostalgia baiting. And Kathleen Kennedy's poor leadership of the entire Lucasfilm brand, who many have championed for her to be stepped down as the head of Lucasfilm. All of this is a combination not only just the outrage from fans, but the rise of social media, which has amplified this division, making it harder for fans to simply enjoy Star Wars. Is Star Wars dead, or can it be saved? The answer depends on whether Lucasfilm learns from these 3 mistakes. Number 1, better leadership, quality over quantity, and respect of the legacy. Kathleen Kennedy's tenure has been chaotic. Star Wars needs consistency and long-term vision. Instead of saturating Disney+, Lucasfilm should focus on making fewer and higher quality projects, bringing back Star Wars to the cinema, and making cinematic events instead of just mediocre Disney+ shows. Star Wars doesn't need constant redefining of its morals and its foundation established for many years. It needs to remember what made it special: mythic storytelling, great characters, and emotional stakes. Upcoming projects like the Mandalorian and Grogu film, as well as the Rey movie, which has been going through many issues with different writers, and many films in development right now from Lucasfilm, offer a chance of redemption. But if these projects fail, Star Wars may truly be lost. Star Wars was once a beacon of storytelling. Now it feels like a struggling brand desperately trying to stay relevant. Can it recover? Maybe. But for many fans, Star Wars as we knew it is gone. However, I have hope. I have hope that there might be a brighter tomorrow. That one day that the name Star Wars brings joy and excitement amongst fanbase. We talk about this brand that we all love from our childhood that doesn't spark division. It actually brings us together, not being one side or the other like politics, but actually unifying us together as a community and reminding us what Star Wars is all about. Adventure, wander, discovering of self, friends, family, seeking dreams and ambitions far greater than yourself, struggling with inner demons like your dark side or your light side. And hopefully, maybe, like the Force, we can also bring balance. What do you think? Can Star Wars be saved, or is it too late? Thank you guys for tuning into this video essay. I really appreciate you guys' comments and feedback. Please let me know if you guys like these, enjoy these videos. I put a lot of work into it, and this will not be the last. Many more videos to come. And also make sure you check out my interviews, also other reviews I have on my channel, which will be posting very, very shortly. I would love to know your thoughts, and I appreciate your feedback. All right, see you guys in the next video. Peace.